Hey everybody, welcome to This Pink Cloud. I am DJ Kelly Reverb. We are a show that is about multiple pathways to recovery, mental health, all that good stuff. Obviously, we've leaned into the at-home edition because it is so much easier. But anyway, I'm excited to have this young lad on. He goes by Matty C, but you might know him as Matt Carter. He's my friend from the UK, and we, I guess, met through music, and then somehow we became friends. And then, and then there you have it. You're a DJ, and then an aspiring producer as well.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. And then you had your bout with the sauce and various other things, and that's kind of what the show is about. So why don't you give us a little bit of your backstory?
Yeah, cheers. Nice to be here, Kelly, and thanks for inviting me firstly. And okay, so my backstory, are you sitting comfortably? It all started in 1973. So I'm not quite as young as what you were saying I was, but it's very nice for you to call me a young man, Kelly. Right, okay.
Well, I still think of myself as a young man. So.
I'm born and raised in the south coast of England. My parents split up when I was 4 or 5 years old. And I found life extremely hard, emotionally, mentally, not too much physically, but I found the breakup of parents and stuff like that very, very difficult. My mum is a musician.
Oh, cool. Hey, and do me a favor, face the camera, because then if you don't, we don't. No, it's all good.
Yeah.
So your mom's a musician?
Yeah, my mum's a musician. She produced music in the 70s.
Anything we'd know.
She went under the pseudonym of Judy Ryland. She was a country singer.
From the UK.
From the UK.
Huh?
An exact soundy likey of Karen Carpenter. So, she's got a couple of records on iTunes and stuff like that, which we could.
Nice. So did you realize how good of a drummer Karen Carpenter was?
No.
Have you ever seen her?
No, I haven't. No.
She's like incredible. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Yeah. But that's cool.
Yeah. So she
musical history in the family.
Yeah. She was very, very, music was her passion and her love. And, I've got two younger brothers. I'm the oldest of three brothers. When my mum found a new partner, I struggled a lot with that, and so did my mum's new partner. I got diagnosed with ADHD, combined adult ADHD and autism 2 years ago. So looking back when I was a child, I was perceived as an awkward child. A naughty child, a dyslexic child, a thick child, a loud child, and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But 30 years ago, ADHD and, stuff
didn't exist, dude. Yeah, right.
It wasn't a thing.
It was a kid is hyperactive.
Yeah, so...
that's what they would call it.
I wasn't academic. I wasn't that way inclined. I loved sports. I loved music. I loved all that sort of stuff. Found 15, 16 years old, found girls, acid, started messing around with amphetamines and drinking and stuff along those lines. I was always the wild child because I wasn't academic. I clowned about and found it very easy to entertain people.
Right. What part of the UK were you growing up?
I was growing up in the south coast of the UK. So in the south coast of the UK is a town called Bournemouth, and it's kind of the.
Is that near Brighton Beach?
Yeah, not too far away from Brighton Beach. Okay. It's along the same coastline, probably 30 miles along the coastline, something along those lines.
Gotcha.
And at 18 years old, I left home when I was 15, but at 18 years old, I found my tribe. It was 1989, 1990. Acid House was just kicking off. Nightclubs,
Yeah. Right.
ecstasy, raves. I found a crew of like-minded individuals who probably had the same sort of problems, or a few of them at least did. And we raved, and we raved hard. Festivals were a thing. I found myself working in.
Wasn't Hacienda the big club
Yeah,
back
that was a
then?
massive club,
Yeah.
but that was a bit more up north.
Yeah. Manchester,
Yeah,
right?
we had a nightclub called Madison's, which was seen to be, and I worked behind the bar there, seen to be as the cutting edge of dance music. We
Ah.
also had a local club called what was Kev's House, and then went on to be called Remix. I remember at an early age, just hitting my 18s and 19s, hearing Carl Cox dropping Born Slippy, that
Yeah.
sort of era,
Mm-hmm.
and an ecstasy and the social interaction that ecstasy gave me, and the club scene and the cult and the nuance of like this new generation of, we don't want to fight anymore, we want to hug each other and we want to dance together. And I found myself being in clubs where race, colour, creed, sexuality, nothing mattered. It was all about the music.
Right.
But what happened in the 10 years from sort of me being the 20 to 30 is that sort of pack of people got smaller and smaller, and a few fell off, and a few went and got married, and a few went and got a proper job, and a few like that. So there was probably 3 or 4 of us left at the end that was still
Mm-hmm.
smashing the drugs, smashing the
Right.
alcohol, and smashing raving. I was always that person that was. I'd just keep going and going and going and going and going until till I probably passed out. I was
Sure.
that sort of person, and so at 30 years old, I kind of had no direction, and didn't really know what I was doing. And I had no relationship with my family. I had no relationship with a partner or anything along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it'd be a good idea for me to do a geographical. So I went off to London to see the lights, to go and get away from that area and stuff like that. And what what went from a bit of amphetamine and ecstasy in the rave culture very quickly developed into Gucci loafers, suits, cocaine, and vodka, and
Ah, nice.
money, and women, and all of those sort of.
How are you generating the money?
Because I'm an addict, an alcoholic, and we are great
Mm-hmm.
manipulators and great
Mm-hmm.
kind of people. I landed a banger of a job,
Right.
which gave me expenses, which gave me a flash car, which gave me all the bells and whistles that I needed to live this
Mm-hmm.
life of. Yeah,
Excess.
my job was to entertain clients. I
Oh,
would have clients and
that's a perfect fit.
yeah, big clients, and my job was to take them out and get them smashed and do all
Right.
the sorts of bits of it. So I very, very quickly, over a course of probably, it probably started getting dark when I was probably about 33. I remember having a girlfriend, or you can't even really call them girlfriends, because it was just someone who was around me at the time. And, I
Right.
remember.
Someone you were partying with.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I remember, she moved into my apartment, and would regularly wake me up at 6 o'clock in the morning, where I'd passed out on the couch, still sat up with blood pouring down me.
Oh, wow.
All of that sort of madness. I ended up in a rehab clinic called the Priory, where I was working at the time. Decided it'd be a good job to stick me in an institution for a while. That I went, and then I came out, and the shame of all of that made me quit that big job and move back down to the south coast of England.
Mm-hmm.
And things were okay for a year or two. I met a girl. I had a son,
Mm-hmm.
who's now nearly 23 years old. And
Right.
gallivanting.
But all this time were you using?
Yeah, I was using, not as heavily as I was in London. You know, in
Right.
London, I was dealing, I was buying big amounts, and using, you know, because I was buying enough, everything was free for me. It was kind of like all that sort of scenario.
Right.
In the beginning, towards the end, it
Sure.
wasn't.
Yeah, of course. Right.
But yeah, I moved back down here, and I've made a couple of bob in London, so I thought I'll get myself a bar job and just work a couple of nights a week in a dance club, get myself a bar job, blah blah blah. I was trying at that time to kind of live a bit more of a sober life, but I wasn't making very good decisions about it all.
Well, I mean, working at a bar is not necessarily conducive
No,
to
no.
to fostering your
So I
sobriety.
worked at this bar, and within 6 months, I was managing the place because of my fantastic ability to put any mask on you wanted me to be.
Sure.
And that led me to another 8 years of free access to drink and drugs. And that's where it really, really ramped up. We had 8 bars in this club. So we had upstairs and downstairs. And every time I walk around and check on all the bars, I had a treble vodka and coke at the end of every single bar tucked underneath the back. So I was walking around and every hour just consuming, and then going to the loo and sniffing, and it went on for years and years and years. And
Right. Was it at least good music at the club?
yeah, I mean, we had a mixture of house music upstairs, downstairs. Downstairs was a bit more urban. We used to have drum and bass nights, LTJ Bookham.
Oh, nice.
I remember seeing Danny Ramplin playing a set for 5 hours without a set of headphones on, which at the time on vinyl I thought was something else.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with
he can do that by ear, but once you get it, like, once you have that
Yeah.
skill set, you can kind of lock it in and almost get it on
Yeah.
just with your ears, just those first couple of beats.
Yeah,
You're
that's
like
it. 5 hours,
chasing
no
it. Yeah.
headphones, just record after
Yeah.
record after record. Cue it up, da 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 da, bang. Let drop it, and then just automatically pitch it to like bang.
Yeah, right.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And then we had, in the middle of all that, we had Fantasia, which were big raves in the UK. Helter Skelters, these massive big festivals, with like 150,000 people there, and kind of mini Coachellas kind of sort of scenario and all that sort of stuff. And then it started getting really, really dark for me. I had no friends then. I just had associates. I had a couple of drug dealers that ended up, I thought they were my friends kind of scenario. That's where the only communication I had with people. And I crashed, and at that point, it wasn't blackout or anything like that. I was still kind of functional to a degree. I decided to move out to the country and try and sort my life out, so away from the towns and cities and live in the forest and stuff like that, and try and sort things out. So I tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed. I went to meetings. I didn't go to meetings. When I first started going to meetings, I used it as a dating program.
Right.
Yeah, I did all the bits that you're not, all the suggestions that you're not supposed to do. And then I was, why am I not getting well? Why am I not, but getting better? I kind of like skirted around spirituality and a connection with a higher power at that time because I was pretty desperate. I then decided that the drugs were not a good thing, so I was just going to socially drink.
Sure, dial it back.
Yeah, sort of rein it back in. It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Yeah. I got this.
I've
As
got
long
another
as I
job.
don't do. Yeah,
And just decided that I was a bit older now and a bit wiser, so I'm just going to drink. Well, I didn't have an automatic car, but my car automatically drove to the off license, the liquor store, as you call it in America, every single night. In that 10 years, I thought it'd be a really good idea to marry an accountant because that would sort me out.
Okay.
That I had nothing in common with. But so I had a 7-year marriage with another child, and I just drank through the whole of that marriage, just constantly working, drinking, and that
Right. And what were you doing as your job then?
in sales. In sales, I
Okay.
found it very good because of my ADHD or
Yeah.
whatever, and chatting and stuff. So I was doing sales,
Right.
but I was drinking, a good bottle of spirits every night.
Oh yeah, I love the from at home job, left to your own
Yeah,
devices. Yeah.
yeah. So,
And it's funny you said that about the whole how your car would find,
oh,
the liquor stores. But I actually had three different ones I would go to
yeah.
because I didn't want them to think I was an
Yeah,
alcoholic.
and I hear that. I hear a lot of people share about
Right.
that, but
Right.
I'm on the flip side. I would walk into my local store on the way home, and
Right.
he'd reach round, grab the bottle, and put it on the thing before
Right.
I'd even said hello or anything.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. You'd lean
what
into it.
service?
I
What more do
gotcha.
you want?
Right. Right.
Um,
Why would I go elsewhere?
yeah. So and that's when blackout drinking started.
Mm,
I would drink myself into blackout all the time, and I got to a stage where obviously that marriage ended and all that sort of stuff.
hmm
I got to a stage where the first drink would send me into blackout. The first mouthful, you
mm,
know,
hmm
I'd I'd come home from work, I'd pour a large, I had a highball glass, and it would be that full of spirit with a little bit of coke on. And I remember every night I'd just stand there and neck the whole glass and go,
mm.
and that'd be it. I'd be in blackout then.
Yeah.
And that carried on for 4 or 5 years, and some nasty shit that I have kind of that pops up every now and again, and I still remember stuff to
Right.
this
Well,
day.
yeah, and I mean that sucks because that's all part of the thing is you have to deal with that, the PTSD
Yeah,
or the bad shit that
yeah,
you've done that you have to live with and then you have to
yeah, and things
process
that I've
and
done to
yeah.
people, and
hmm Yes, shit we're
yeah,
not proud
shit
of.
that we're not proud of.
Right.
So then, on my third time of trying to get sobriety, I reached a point of. I remember a mate of mine called Wayne, and he'd been in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. The first time I'd been in was 16 years previous. So basically, I had a little bit of recovery, and then I decided for 16 years I was going to try and manage myself. So I went back out there.
hmm
So at the 16th year, I thought, right, I'm going to a meeting tonight. So I went to a meeting tonight, and I sat, like you do, you think you're okay, you look fine and stuff like that. I was yellow, didn't
Mm.
weigh very much,
Jaundice.
yeah, didn't look very
Right.
healthy at all, but thought, looking out of my eyes, thought I was fine to everyone,
Sure.
you know, and I remember, listen to the similarities, not the differences. Keep coming back, go to another meeting, and I was
hmm
like, right, how do I feel after my first meeting back? I feel all right. Okay, let's go. And I remember being in the shower in the morning and going, just put one foot in front of the other. Please, God, today, may I not drink. Please, God, today, I don't want to drink. Please, God, I want to get to a meeting tonight,
Right.
And I failed. I went to work, car automatically drove, but I kept doing it. And after about the third or fourth night, I was like, right, today is the day. I'm not going to go. So I just drove straight to the meeting. I stayed on longer at work. So I just drove straight to the meeting.
Ah. Right.
And there was a guy in there who's my sponsor.
hmm
And I heard him share, and my whole body just started facing this guy who's talking to me, and I was just mesmerized with what he was saying, and what he does for a job, and I knew that if I asked this man to be my sponsor, that
hmm
there was no getting away with me blagging him,
Right.
right?
Well, that's why I love the if you want what we have.
Yes, yes. And I
Yeah.
remember saying to him, Kelly, I remember looking him in the eyes and going, I'm Matt, I'm an alcoholic, and and I use other substances. It was an AA meeting. I was like, I'm Matt, I'm an alcoholic, and I want what you've got. And if it's all right with you, can I please get your number at the end of the meeting, right? And that's all I could say. I didn't say anything else. And so I ended up meeting, I said, because kind of like, you've got to get a sponsor and that sort of stuff. So I walked up to him like, I'm looking for a sponsor. And he went, well, I don't know. I might be able to help you. I might not. But I'll tell you what, let's have a coffee in the next few days and we'll take it from there. So I walked away going, he didn't say yes. Hang on a minute. How bad is that? What? So, of course, I'm feeling all wounded, like this sort of stuff. So
it's funny that you say. No, it's funny that you say that, because there was a few people that I would ask, and it was like, I was like, I felt like I was asking a chick out on a date.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you've got too many sponsors. I'm like, or sponsees, and I'm just like, okay, well. Then what? Why'd you raise your hand?
And I think the thing why I found it weird is because for me, this addict and alcoholic, I'm very empathetic with people. I'm empathetic with animals, with other human beings. I find it very easy to connect with that sort of stuff. And so it did feel like I was asking a girl out, and she was saying, maybe not.
Yeah, right. Making you work for it.
So I had.
Hey, real quick, let's put it on pause real quick, and I want to throw to our new sponsor.
No problem.
All right, and that is actually a party we have coming up here in Dallas with Gettoblaster, so I'm excited about that. Actually, the link is in the bio. It's a day party on Sunday, June 8th, and it is from 11 to 7, and that is 2025, in case you're watching this in the future. Anyway, and then also we have some new music, and here that is.
Music creates the space that we have no choice but to share. Music is not about itself. Music is about balance.
Okay, well, that is the new stuff, and it is doing quite well. Just got some support on Sirius XM on the old Studio 54, and pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff that you just magically put your stuff out there and people support it. But yeah, anyway. So, speaking of that, yeah, but I guess you were talking about your sponsor, but then a side note, that's how we kind of met.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess I sent my stuff out through maybe an in-flight, and then you were on that in-flight.
Yeah. Yeah,
but we'll get into that. But anyway,
so I met up with my sponsor, and we had a coffee, and he agreed to take me through the steps and help me as much as he can, and all that sort of stuff. So that was my first real connection with a power greater than myself, and me reaching out, going, right, okay, I am not God, I need help, and blah blah blah. My father had drunk himself to death. He drank so much alcohol that he exploded, and I found him 4 days later. So I knew that it was all there waiting for me if I wanted, and I was choosing not to. So I met my sponsor. We went through the steps, and I've since got a new wife. In recovery, I've bought a house. I've always everything is good for me now, one day at a time, one day at a time. I suppose when I found recovery and I found the rooms and I became willing and accepting of all that sort of stuff, it was an opportunity for me to write myself a new narrative about my life. Okay, so that's all good. But we talk about how I met you, I think, because when I don't put myself in the way of my higher power and my spirituality and all that stuff, good stuff happens to me. As soon as I put myself in the way, i.e. try and run the show, is usually when things don't go quite to plan. So with that in mind, I all the way through my working at clubs and stuff like that, I'd always had a set of turntables at home and all that sort of stuff. So parties used to come back to my house, and of course I had to have the flash black and gold ones.
Oh, nice.
So I had
the MK1210s.
Yes. So
the gold package, right?
I'd always had that
to match the Gucci.
Yeah, that's it. Right? That's it. I can't just have normal ones. Yeah, not Mark ones, not Mark twos. I had to have the black ones. I'm an addict, you know. So I'd always constantly, all the way through, since 1991, I'd always collected records. I'd always spun tunes. Whenever DJs were running late or I'd get a phone call saying, I can't, I'm stuck at a gig, I'm not going to be there for an hour, I'd jump on the deck. So I was kind of used to all of that sort of stuff. And dance music kind of like connected with my soul and my spirituality. And I didn't want to give that up. But what I had to deal with is my connection between, or my perceived connection between dance music and drug use and stuff like that. And I spent a long, long time kind of like working out, music is a great way to access your emotions and stuff like that. I'd always used music, whether it be Freddie Mercury or New Order or I don't know, all sorts of people had influenced me in my music. But I decided I was going to take some time out to look after my mental health. Like I said, I got diagnosed a couple of years ago with ADHD. I hit burnout. Basically, I'd worked myself to the bone. And one day I just decided I can't do this anymore. So I needed to go and get some more outside help for external issues and all that sort of stuff. But what I wanted to do was relight my fire with my music and stuff again. So like you do, you join lots of DJ pools and put your name out there and all that sort of stuff. And an advert came up on Facebook for DJ pool, so I put my name down. And I was sat there one morning. I remember I went and made myself a cup of coffee, and I came down, sat where I am now, opened the laptop, and I don't know, 10 promos came through. So what I used to do, or still do, is sit there and I click through the promos and this, I like this and I like this. And then you sent through an EP with I think it had 5 tunes on it.
Right. I did. I did a sampler because I was like, oh, this is a new, because there's different on, it's a platform called InFlight. And then the people already have their list of recipients built.
Yes.
So it's much easier to just go, okay, here's X amount of quid.
Yeah.
You use your list that you've already built. While I'm building my own.
So I joined a dance music radio station in the UK, and I was performing on a Saturday night. Building a following and all that sort of stuff. So I'd open my laptop and 5 of your tunes come up, and I was like, click, oh yeah, that's all right, yes, all right, let's write a little review. And I was like, click the next one, that's nice, da, da, da. And I was like, yeah, I'm digging this. I'm digging this label. Who are they? Lone Star. Yeah, I'm digging them. So I was like, right, okay, right, let's get the old phone, Lone Star Records, and Found You and stuff like that.
Right.
And I was kind of like, well, I'm going to do something nice, because it says in the program we should do something nice for someone every day, or try and be the best we can. So I was like, I'm going to send this Kelly dude, I love his stuff, I'm going to send him a little message saying, I think your tunes are great and I'm going to be playing them on the radio this Saturday night. And didn't think much more of it, apart from...
Did you? Hold on. Did you think I was a bird?
No. If you were, I would have run a mile.
No, that's the ongoing joke in Dallas. Like we
Oh,
used to
it's
do the
Kelly.
radio show. Yeah. And my friend, I would be on the air with him and Kelly Reverb, the hottest female DJ.
So I a couple of hours later, because obviously there's the time difference, you'd obviously seen it and gone ping, oh that's nice or whatever,
Right.
and then I don't know, 6 hours later the phone rings or whatever, and we end up talking to each other, and it's like
Yeah, because I think we started talking about recovery
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
You were
And
sat
it's
on your
just,
balcony or sat outside, and you were like, yeah, man, and that, like I said earlier, if I don't get in the way of myself, all the right things happen. So I've gone
yeah.
from having a cup of coffee in the morning, listening to some tunes, to speaking to a brother from another mother, 8 hours in front of me, the other side
Right.
of the world, about dance music and recovery.
Right.
And that,
About the same shit.
yeah,
Right.
and at that point, I was like, it's all right to be into dance music. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. There's another guy across the world, and there's Chad, and there's other people. And I was like, you know, I love my dance music. I love, you know, but I'm sober and I'm clean, and it's okay.
Right.
And I really started to enjoy, and I've really felt this enveloping love. It all came running out of me again, and I was like straight up on the fence, you know, doing all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And we carried on talking. And then you sent me a snippet of like an intro for me to play on my radio show, and then you started sending me like all your other records, and this was like, and people were asking me like, what's that tune you're playing and stuff like this, and I was like, oh, it's a group of lads, and then it was like, oh yeah, you know, and Kelly does this podcast for people in recovery, and so I got thinking about the whole dance music thing, because of that and what dance music, and I started reading like articles on the internet about dopamine and how dance music makes you feel euphoric, and you know, and then you raving sober, and how there's a new movement of people that are raving sober, and you know, because I identified dance music with me being absolutely smashed off my nuts.
Right. Sure.
I've been to Above and Beyond concerts. They were one of my big followings I used to do. I used to go and see them all over the place, you know, and there's so many people at the front of the crowd, like not off their nut, you know, enjoying the music and the colour and the vibrance and the celebration of dance music and who we are and that tribe and stuff. So gently, I kind of like embraced it all again, but in a really healthy, powerful way. And I never look back, really. It's just like things have gone, you know. Kelly's very kindly kind of helped me paint a little bit by numbers on how to make a record and
How to produce
and you know, and none of that wouldn't have come about without recovery or the love of dance music or
Well, it's funny because I always say it's like, you know, it's a secret society that you don't know that exists until you get into recovery, and then it's just like, oh, because then it's funny because then we automatically have a common bond.
yeah. And I then went on. I was like, right, okay, maybe this. What that then led me into was kind of like my dance for dopamine kind of thing, where I kind of like reached out to lots of people, including yourself and other label owners and dance music DJs, and I was finding so many people like in recovery or like sober.
Well, and it's amazing because like once you do that, and like also what you said is once you get out of your way, because it's so hard as a human being to not try to control your narrative. You know, and that's the really tough part, is to let go. It doesn't mean, oh, you should just do nothing. I mean, obviously pursue what you love and what makes you happy, and you know, maybe what helps other people out.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that's, but what I was going to say is, as far as recovery and that secret society, I think the reason why there is because I know exactly what you went through,
Mm,
and you know exactly what I went through.
mm.
It might be a little bit different.
Yeah,
You know, you might have gone a little harder in the paint, as they
yeah,
say,
whatever.
you know,
Yeah,
but, or Chad went harder than all of us,
yeah. Chad did it.
you know?
Chad did it for us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He did. He ignored every memo out there that was on heroin and
Yeah,
speedballs and
yeah, yeah. I
all
mean,
that good stuff.
I've heard it said, we all have a different backstory and we all have this, but when you've earned your seat.
Mm,
For each of us, it's a thing. But what we've done and drawn together, like you say, secret society. There's a massive Canadian DJ. I'm not going to name him because whatever, but
hmm
he's announced his first sober tour, and it's also, and just I love sobriety now. I
Right,
love people in sobriety. I trust people in sobriety, and I also trust that we don't always get it right, and that's okay.
right.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Might say things that aren't okay, but we don't mean, and I always find that people in sobriety and people I've met along my life story and, like I say, my new
hmm
narrative and that are always nice people,
Right.
the
Well, for the
best the
most
best
part,
people.
there's shitty ones out there.
Yeah, of course, but there's shitty people in
Right.
there.
There's shitty people everywhere. Yeah. Yeah.
So, now my life has gone from, there's no more Gucci loafers.
hmm
There's no more fast cars.
There's a Lone Star
There's
T-shirt,
a Lone
maybe.
Star T-shirt. Which
Right.
I've got to order another one because I'll let you into a little secret.
Uh,
I'm a little bit fatter than I used to be.
well,
So
hey,
it
it's
does
healthy,
it
right?
does look it does. I'd be okay if I was going to a Pride festival. I'd probably look very special if I was going to a Pride festival.
Dude, Chad's got the ongoing bear look. Yeah, Chad is definitely like just he's a harness away he's a harness away from an OnlyFans page.
So I'm going to be
Yeah.
ordering myself the next size up as well.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, I love it. I love being able to speak to you, and I love being able to speak to people in recovery, and I love speaking to a newcomer, and I love my wife. I'm very, very blessed. My wife's in recovery. She's got a good
Oh.
program. We've got 3 dogs. My eldest
hmm
daughter's off to university. My eldest son is in Australia at the moment doing the 22-year-old young man in Australia stuff. Got
hmm
another, a 12-year-old daughter. So my life is good, man. My life is good,
Yeah.
but it's one day at a time.
Right.
I really believe that in all my heart and soul because that's all we've got right now.
Right.
What we're doing,
I got a question. So, did you ever do any? Because I mean, I went to rehab,
yeah,
and that was kind of what was my factor for recovery. Because the thing is I kind of did what you did as
yeah,
well. Like as far as the, going to meetings and unsuccessfully. It's
yeah,
just like but I kept on going. And then I kind of found out what it was about and the
yeah,
12 steps, and I kind of put it in a brief synopsis. It's basically admitting you're powerless,
yeah,
and you need help.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
That's the first thing is you don't have it.
yeah,
Okay. Right.
yeah,
So that's the first part. And then basically the next steps are, okay, all the shit you did,
yeah,
let's process it and then you can let it go
yeah,
or deal with it.
yeah,
At least accept what you did and move on
yeah,
and move forward, because if you hang on to that shit, it's like a cancer,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then basically you sponsor other people.
yeah,
So then you stay out of self,
yeah,
and you don't have your pity party because you're going, oh,
yeah.
that guy is fucked up like I
Yeah,
was,
exactly. And it's
Yeah.
having someone in the fellowship in the support group that to help you get started and to help you get on the road to recovery. And like you say,
hmm
having someone that I could talk to that would understand about
Right.
blackout drinking,
Mm.
and you know, because people, how do you explain blackout to someone? What, you don't
That,
remember
yeah,
anything for 3 days? No, I
right,
don't. Nothing.
right,
Nothing. To
yeah,
explain that to a normal person, wherever the normal people are in the world, they're like,
right,
yeah, he's joking, he's joking, you know. But for me, I probably was in blackout for 10 years.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah. And
constantly,
I did
not
when I was a
constantly, but
kid.
yeah.
I remember there was a lady that would tell me that she would automatically black
Yeah,
out if she started, like
yeah, yeah,
like you
minister,
said
yeah.
you did. And I didn't understand that. I couldn't wrap my brain around it, like how that could happen until fast forward 30 plus years in my life,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, oh, now I get what she was talking about.
Yeah.
I got one thing, a topic I want to bring up though, because when I did get sober and started going to events and stuff like that,
Mhm.
I mean, how has that been for you, being sober? And because I say that like in my life, I had this. I started drinking when I was 16,
Yeah.
and so, fast forward to 50, there was never a window where I said, oh, let's just do this sober. It was always alcohol was
Yeah.
always there or a part of it, or, and I managed it, and I had a great time. I'm not going to say I didn't.
Yeah.
But, it was fun until it
I
wasn't,
think I think we're very much. It doesn't matter where you are, where you live in the
Mm-hmm.
world, or whatever. But I think we're very much programmed, or the social aspect of it is like you need alcohol to unwind and
It's acceptable.
have a good
Yeah.
time. You know,
Right.
which is complete rubbish because
Mm-hmm.
now if I go to an event or a concert or a show or whatever, one, I'm going there because I want to go because I enjoy it. Two, I remember it. All drink and drugs did for me was kept me there longer and got me tireder.
Right.
Yeah, I don't wake up in places that I shouldn't do. You know,
Mm-hmm.
open your eyelid and think, God damn, that's not the colour of my duvet.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Right.
So I now go to an event and I can absorb it all and I can feel the emotions of it all and I can look at everyone around me enjoying it and get it, you know,
Right.
whatever event. And I can
You don't have
absorb
to
all of
worry about somebody filming you and becoming a meme.
it. Yeah. I'd love to meet that guy. You know, the guy that in the UK that,
Oh
yeah,
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 he's around, man. I think he kind of makes the circuit. I don't know his name, but we
yeah.
could probably do some research. But it's funny, we all know the bald guy that X's his tits off.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, it's just now if I want to do something, I do it because I enjoy it, and I just have boundaries around it, and that doesn't,
Hmm.
you know, I can go to places. I can if my mates are like having a do or a birthday party, I can go and sit in the pub with them and have. But there's only so many Coca-Colas or waters you can drink. And when I've
Right.
been there 2 or 3 hours and I've said hello to everyone and we've had a good time and all that sort of stuff, it's my time to go. Yeah.
Right. Sure.
And because I'm not part of that anymore, but that doesn't extricate me or whatever the word is from
Hmm.
being that part of that community. It just means I've got a
Right.
boundary. And
Sure.
you'd be amazed how many people are like, all right with that. You know,
Yeah.
you know,
It's funny, but some people are like when they offer you a drink and then you're like, "Oh no, I'm good," and then they'll know that you're sober and they go, "Oh, I'm so
yeah, I
sorry."
know. Yeah.
I'm like, why, dude? I was like, thanks, man, but
Yeah.
it's just like it's funny when you do that. But then I also love the people that do the give you their inventory
Yeah.
once they once they find out you're sober. Oh well, I don't drink that
Yeah, I
much.
know.
I only drink blah blah
Yeah, I
blah.
only
I'm
drink
like,
at the weekend. That's what I used to tell the doctor when I
hey,
go in there, looking yellow.
I'm just like literally, I'm just like, that's great. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And everyone knows someone that's an alcoholic, don't they? Or in,
Oh yeah, well yeah, and then that's true though. I mean, honestly, a lot of people do like it's if it hasn't affected you directly, then it's somebody in your
yeah,
family or someone you know that you're close to. Guaranteed, probably, I would say 100%. Of people
yeah.
have an affiliation with somebody that's been through the struggle
And I
before.
think one of the biggest jewels from me going through this journey is the ability for me to give myself back to my family, to my
Right.
children and be around and all that sort of stuff. That's one of the
Mm.
biggest gifts recovery has been able for me to spend time with my kids and not think, right, get
Yeah,
home.
being
I'm gonna
a
get home now because like I'm getting scratchy now and
I'm getting
I need
scratchy.
that drink.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Kind of scenario. So that's a gift. That's a gift to recovery. But yeah, long may dance music, long may Lone Star, long may you be successful, Kelly. You're a great guy, and
Well,
I think
thank
I
you.
think what you do is great. And if there's, and if there's anyone watching that, yeah, all you got to do is reach out a little bit, send a little.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter whether it's
Well, I was gonna say to how you reached out to me. You were
yeah,
like, okay, let's do something nice,
yeah, yeah,
or whatever. Let's just tell this guy, hey, I like his shit. And I mean, I think honestly, just as humans, all we're looking for is validation, I
yeah.
guess, kind of, and acceptance,
Well,
and it's just like,
we're in this social media generation of like, look at
right,
me, I'm in Dubai. Look at me, I'm driving a
yeah.
Ferrari. Look
Exactly.
at me, I'm
I call
chucking.
it I refer to that as social media propaganda.
Yeah,
So
and everyone's
you do
trying to get a like.
you do your
Everyone's trying to get a
propaganda.
like.
So like you're like, oh look, it's look how big my dick
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
or like it's just like look how fabulous my fake life
yeah.
is, and it's just like
And then if
I don't know.
everyone sent out someone a message going like, I really like it, well done.
Yeah,
When was the last
yeah.
time, people, when you're in active addiction or you're struggling with mental health and stuff like that, it's very easy to go into self. And I find
Right.
for me, if I try and do something nice for someone, it might be bring the next door neighbour's bin in. It
Yeah.
might be, something really, really, stupid, but it works for me, man.
No, but I mean, I don't, I think that's a good positive, way to navigate is because like I try to do on just even social media, even though it's a cesspool,
Yeah.
I sit there and I try to openly support,
Yeah.
like
And you're
I've
always
got my
grateful
friends
for
and
people that support you. I always see you
yeah,
posting like, thank you, thanks for the
mm,
support, thanks for the support. And,
right,
you know,
yeah.
it's great
I
stuff.
mean, and that's all it is because it's just like I had no blueprint on this life, and there's no like I say with this show, with my music career,
Mhm.
it's just I'm building the airplane as I'm flying,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from
So
what I see of you, you enjoy it all the time, man. You're enjoying it. You're doing it
right.
because you love it. You don't do it
Well,
because,
and that's the thing. You should do what you love, if you can. I mean, I get it. Sometimes you have to do. I mean, I've had some shitty jobs,
mm,
dude.
mm,
So, it's not always unicorns and
no.
rainbows,
We
but
call it in the UK when life gets a bit lifey, 'cause
yeah,
life is still life,
right. And sometimes you have to do grown up shit.
Yeah. I only allow myself 2 hour no 2 hours a day or two adult stuff things to do and
Adulting.
yeah, yeah, I allow
Right.
myself to be an adult for like 2 hours a day where I get all my adult stuff done and
Sure.
then I'm okay. Then the
Right.
rest of
Do
the day,
you, so what do you do like as far as like any kind of self-care that you do? Like I mean, obviously you have meetings
yeah,
and then you have a sponsor, which I say is fantastic because, that sponsor is somebody that knows your
yeah,
story that can, talk you off a ledge or whatever if
yeah,
you're having a bad
yeah,
day. But do you do any kind of
yeah,
like meditation, mindfulness, go for
yeah.
walks, any
I
kind
do a
of
course on a Friday, which is called Hope,
okay.
which is a private, independent kind of like self-help group where mindfulness, meditation, how to run your
Mm,
day, how to deal with anxiety, how to deal with
Is it online or is
No,
it
I
in
can
person?
physically go
Or
there, and
oh,
there's lots of
nice.
different people there from all walks of life that are on.
Right, and they're not necessarily in
Nope,
recovery. It's
nope.
just
There's
yeah.
mums there that have got autistic kids. There's a
Mm,
bloke there that struggled because he's retired and he's trying to get his head round stuff, all sorts of stuff. It's just a nice thing to like share your experience of like stuff, and you know, I know that I'm not in control, and I learn things. Or every day's a school day for me. I learn stuff off of these older people or younger people. It doesn't really matter, but wisdom is like a gift. They go, well, I do this, and I'll come away and go, why didn't I think of that? But
mm-hmm.
unless you go and interact with these people, and I also now I'm sober. I struggled for a long time with interacting with people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good practice for me to go and meet new people, and it's taken me a while
Sure.
to get that to that place, but
Well, I mean, back when I was drinking, I would have to be blitzed
yeah,
to do something like this, and now I just like
yeah, yeah.
whatever,
You
you
know, I
know?
used to have to be pissed to go in the pub.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. You had to pregame,
yeah.
pregame, man. That's a,
And I also do. I'm not. I have a therapist.
mm,
I have a
right,
therapist that I see every week. I have an hour with her, and she's my little crutch of like just me being able to go blah 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 blah
right,
and lay it all out and go, right, okay, what's Matt thinking, what's good thinking, what's healthy, what's, because it stops me getting back in that
right.
cycle. We managed to break it and go, nah, because if you do this, that, and the other, you'll end up going back round it. So
Yeah,
that's all
sure.
good. I do a lot of walking. I live in the countryside. Like I say, I got, early on in recovery. I don't suggest it for everybody, but in my first year, I went and bought a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Not because it was advised. I just thought this will get me out of the house. This will teach me to look after something, feed it,
Mm-hmm.
clean it, blah blah blah, and eventually I will hopefully be able to look after myself. So I've got one of my dogs. That's, of course, I've got three.
Right.
And I just I try and speak to two or three people every day and
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, man,
Have you gotten to where you're sponsoring people?
I have done. Yeah, I have done.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I've got a guy called James at the moment.
Well, let's say his last name and give his telephone number.
No.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, and I go out for coffee. We have day stuff we do. My life is full. My life is full.
Yeah.
I love my fishing. I do a lot of fishing. I'm just 2 weeks time. I'm off in a van across Europe. We're going to do France, Germany, and Holland.
Oh wow,
I've made
that'll be fun.
friends with people in Germany and stuff, and I choose. When I was raving, I had 30 people I knew. Now I've got 4 people I know, but I know them well, and I know that I could phone them and go, you know what, I'm feeling shit today, and
Mm,
they go, you know what, it'll be all right, and tomorrow you possibly be feeling a bit better. And
right.
9 times out of 10, they're usually pretty right, or just that
Yeah.
act of phoning up, and and I do my music. I still record, my shows,
Oh, well,
my
I was gonna say,
podcast.
like, let's talk about like, so currently you're doing like your own mix show,
Yeah, I do.
and then it's on, what is it on?
Ibiza Play About Radio
Right.
goes out from Ibiza. I'm jumping back into my Dance for Dopamine, which is a musical podcast of
Mm-hmm.
me just being open
Right.
open about stuff. And I've been to a lot of funerals of male friends that haven't reached out and spoken to people, and I find
Mm-hmm.
it really upsetting,
Mm-hmm.
because I know how hard it is. I know how
Right.
hard it is, and I know what a battle it is.
Yeah, it's well, because I just did a few weeks back. We had a show about a guy named Defuse,
Yeah,
and he was a DJ, and he was. it was the whole, his narrative was kind of my narrative
Yeah,
as well,
yeah,
with the MP3 and everything. But he was like, on the superstar trajectory, opening up for Paul Oakenfold,
yeah,
uh, Perfecto Signee,
yeah.
all that
No,
kind of good stuff. And, it's sad when death is your rock bottom,
yeah.
and you don't get a chance to navigate out of it. It's unfortunate, but it's reality, and not everything is
No.
perfect.
And so I as part of my trying to give back a little bit, I started Dance for Dopamine, which was predominantly when I started it was just me trying to make it known that it's all right for a full-grown man, father of three, blah blah blah, talk about his feelings. Because I thought,
Yeah,
you know what, if I start talking about my feelings, someone else in the world I might only get one person listens to it. But if that
sure,
one person that listens to it goes and talks to his wife or whoever,
right.
and it slightly changes the narrative,
Hmm.
and I've had some great feedback and stuff. But that, like I say, in our world, Kelly, it's like you either get sober and try and really try, or it's jails, institutions, and death.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
as it states in
exactly. Right.
our literature.
And I mean, addiction is a really shitty job that you don't even sign up for.
No, no,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because it is a full-time job. It became my full-time job,
yeah.
staying
Yeah,
knackered.
yeah. And then and you got to be congratulate yourself as well, and give
Yeah,
yourself a bit of affirmation. And they call that, you got to learn to love yourself. Well,
sure.
I found that quite hard, but slowly but surely I was, well, you put the bins in for the next door neighbours and they don't know about it. That's a nice
Right.
thing. Well done. You know,
Yeah.
you send Kelly a little message, wasn't expecting anything back. For your music's great. Look what we've done now. I might, I don't know. I might help her stop the traffic while an old lady crosses the road, or
Sure.
pick someone's. Someone leaves their phone on a table in a restaurant. The old me would be like, bang, that's going in my pocket, right? Now
Yeah.
it's like you've left your phone behind, and I'll take
Yeah.
them to give them back.
Right.
So it's all new, but you know, it was said to me, I'm 52 years old. I've got more years behind me than I have in front of me now, and
Mm.
if I've only got 4 autumns left or 10 autumns left, I want to make sure they're nice autumns, and I spend them with
Hmm.
loving, caring people, and smile and laugh as much as I possibly can, and listen to music and not worry, and just for the 2 hours a day do those adult things that I don't like doing.
Sure. Yeah. 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 Right. No, I get it. Well, so okay. So, what is if people want to find
Find
your
me.
show, where can they go?
Right, so if you go to www.dancefordopamine.com, and that's with the number 4 in a minute, so dancefordopamine.com,
Hmm.
you can have a look through all the pages. You'll see Kelly on there. There's a Legends tab, which is a load
Right.
of other people that I've approached and have approached me that are in the music industry, that are either that have got lots of different
I need to
things.
go check that out.
Yeah. There's
It's been
there's
a
there's
yeah.
mental health coaches on there. There's young
Uh-huh.
producers. There's DJs. There's old producers. There's record label owners. All that sort of stuff. And that's just to try and show people that there is something else past that
Yeah.
black hole that you feel like you're stuck in.
Right. And then, and then the fact that you can have fun
Yeah. Yeah.
in the dance scene without
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
Substance,
The
it's
amount
like,
that since I've started this journey of like looking into, or that I started the journey of looking into dance music in a different light of like, let's start
mhm,
enjoying the dance music rather
right.
than what's associated with
And it's funny how much more perceptive you are as well
it.
when you're
So
sober,
many,
because you're like, oh,
so many
okay,
people in the music
right,
industry are in
yeah,
recovery, are,
mm-hmm,
are advocates, self-help.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, I've met all sorts of people.
right,
Eleanor Bauer, who was a yogi who did flow state with Above and Beyond, and she did the
mm-hmm,
spoken word. There's a couple of tracks on Above and Beyond's Flow State album where it's called Spoken Word. I found it so like opened, like, oh my God, you know, and it's stuff. So I've reached out to all sorts of people and had conversations with, you know, all sorts
People you never thought you would.
Oh, just like, and it
Life is a surprise.
yeah, and the world isn't as big as what I thought it was. You know,
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter.
I mean, I just got it. Like, it was funny because I just got a message from a guy in Tel Aviv, Israel.
Yeah,
Yeah, just last night, and he's just like, "Hey, I love your music," and I'm like, "Oh, well, cool."
I know.
And blah, blah, blah. Then we start chatting it up, and
and you're
know,
like, what? Who's he talking about?
who me?
Who me?
Right.
The person that used to feel rubbish about himself and wanted to just.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I mean, a lot of mine, like my use, was from my anxiety.
Yeah.
And you know, it's the temporary solution that becomes the problem.
Yeah.
You know, it like you can only navigate it successfully so long.
Yeah.
I mean, at least for me, that was my, was my circumstances. But you know, whatever. And that's the thing. I don't preach at people, and I don't, look negative at anybody that drinks. I'm like, have one for me, man.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't. It's just to me, like, I mean, there's times when I'm like, oh yeah, I should be drinking here, or normally this is what it would be. But then I just kind of go, it's all about that. I gave drinking 30 years of my life.
Yeah.
And, why not give sobriety 5?
Yeah.
And just see what it's like, see if it's a good fit.
Yeah.
Because I also like to challenge myself. And it's okay to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because we're human, and we all are.
Yeah.
And it's just part of our insecurity. It's not like we're all going to be Zen masters and everything. It's okay. It's okay to experience and to do things that challenge yourself, and to help growth. To help.
I mean, I've got a friend of mine who's been so helpful to myself and my wife. She's going on holiday with her family, and so I'm going off tomorrow morning to go and stay at her house because she's got a massive dog that needs looking after. But guess what? I've got my laptop and all my notes that Kelly Reverb gave me the other night, and so like I get to sit and play music all week,
right,
with no interruptions apart from the dog that needs walking once.
Right. Now we're going to put you like on record saying, okay, so when are you going to have something for me to listen to?
7 days from now.
Okay. We will hold you to that.
It's going to be a breakbeaty, D&B progressive.
All right. Hey, whatever. I like to do the stream of consciousness production. It's just like whatever comes out, whatever I hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I appreciate you coming on the show and being forthright and, and letting people know that it's okay to not be okay.
It is okay.
Yeah.
And please, for the love of God, or, just speak to someone. Anyone.
Right. Yeah. Just reach out.
Reach out, because
there we go.
Losing too many soldiers, brother, where you lose too many soldiers.
Well, I appreciate you being on, and go check out Matty C's website and listen to his fabulous streams, which are Lone Star Records heavy. Yeah. But thanks again for coming on.
Have you got a? We need to do a lot, like people do things.
The Lone Star logo. Like, we'll have to work on that. Yeah, something.
Okay.
I'll get gang signs going for sure. But anyway, thanks again for coming on. Be sure, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And then remember, kids, there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.